everybody? It's your boy Doc Nanners. Welcome to the Lagging Legends Racing Network, and welcome to what is a UTLR breaking announcement. There's been a lot of people talking, there's been a lot of speculation, but today we get some answers from the man, the myth, the legend himself. We have Alex, UTLR Storm, here to talk from the behalf of the UTLR administration to tell us what the future is looking like and to tell us what is some ideas. I believe we got a few tests. Alex, I'm going to shut up and I'm just going to sit back and let the floor be yours, man. Let's hear what the new plans are.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for letting me come onto the show. Appreciate your time. Appreciate the efforts that y'all put into the show. Let's dig right into it. So, obviously, like he said, there's been a lot of talks and people wanting change, and we've gone through, we've talked and discussed, and there is change that is happening. And again, all this change is a testing grounds that we're going to do. It's going to be a beta testing pretty much for the league. It's not anything that's set in stone. I want that to be known up front. This is not permanent. This is a testing ground. If it does work, it does work. If not, we revert to something else. But over this weekend, we have developed what is going to be called a discipline system. This is going to take place of the whole biased opinions, biased penalties, favoritism, how the penalties are dealt with, and how they're considered, and how they are put through. The discipline system exists to fix the biggest issue right now within the league, which is inconsistency in penalties and lack of trust within the administration team with how it's ran. This system removes opinion-based rulings and replaces them with a structured, rules-driven process where penalties are applied the same way every time, no matter who you are or your position. What this is going to add is a consistent rule enforcement, which I know people have been complaining about. It's going to clear documentation for every incident. It's going to be an automatic probation and suspension tracking. There's going to be a formal incident and appeal process. And it's going to be transparency for both the drivers and the admins. That's been a huge one, is, us admins doing stuff behind the scenes and us admins bending stuff for certain people, and no transparency given between the drivers. Even when it seems like it on face value, there's a deeper product behind the scenes going on, and there hasn't been enough transparency. How this is going to work is this discipline system is ran on 3 different parts. It is ran on a driver incident report form where you'll fill it out, and everything has to be driven within that report form. Admins as well. As admins have a concern or a penalty that they think should be issued, they themselves have to put it into the incident report form, just as much as any driver, before it can even be looked at or processed. There will be 2, a penalty review and application process, and then 3, a penalty appeal submission form if deemed necessary. If you think you need to appeal it, then there's going to be an official informal appeal process. Every incident, like I said, is logged, reviewed, and resolved within the system. Nothing will be handled in DMs and within any chats, including the admin chats. We can talk about it in the admin like we kind of do. We just talk about the penalties and or talk about what happened on this clip, and like we do it in the chats. But as far as the penalties go, we can't deem a penalty just within 10 minutes after a race concludes. We can't be like, oh, well, Brandon, you're getting a L3 for this or that. Bro, it's only been 10 minutes after the race, and there's been 1 clip submitted. Okay, I don't think that's fair, but okay. No more of that. This driver incident report form is going to be all incidents are submitted through a standardized report with evidence or without evidence. If it's like a race chat warning or a race chat issue, then obviously no evidence would be tagged to that, and you can submit that with no evidence. This creates a permanent, time-stamped record and ensures that every case is unique and starts the same way for every driver and admin. Nothing will be looked at or determined until this report is filled out. As far as the penalty appeals go, Drivers have a formal appeal process with a guaranteed review and outcome. Every appeal has a recorded outcome that is finalized by the end of the racing week, and no ignored requests or silent changes will come of this. As far as transparency goes within the system, drivers see what rule was applied and why. Admins and drivers can fully see the full driver history, who got what penalties, what's the process looking like within that penalty, has it been taken care of or has it not been taken care of. They will be able to see based off of a pending, approved, or denied as far as appeals go. On the incident report logs, there's going to be a log that shows whether or not we've looked at it or not, and the drivers can go in and see that just as much as we can. Admins or decisions, as far as that goes, will be visible, documented, and traced for all to see. That is nothing to be hidden from the drivers, and they see what we see as admins. And why this, why does this make UTLR better? Is because this system builds back the trust within the administration team. It removes all drama, biased decisions, and favoritism, and also gives the drivers full confidence that penalties are fair, equal, and consistent. Now, part of this, so part of this is actually, I'm kind of looking at it right now. Each driver will be given an incident ID number, which they can use in the appeal. It makes it very unique. It is initialed by a series manager. The evidence has to be verified, and it gives us a range. Like, we answered 4 questions based off of the video clip. Was it avoidable? Was it intentional? And was the outcome affected? And then, is that driver on probation or not? At that point, it'll give us a range. Yes, I will admit a little bit of AI is used in this, but it's to help give us a range of where the penalty is. Like, if it was avoidable, it was intentional, but no probation, and the outcome was not affected. Well, then that's within our penalty system, that's in our rule book, that is deemed an L, anywhere from an L2 to an L7. At that point, the admins have to come together and say, okay, where within that range is this deemed acceptable for what happened? And you'll be able to see your infraction level. What'd you get? L3? Okay, well, every driver is going to get to see that. And the timestamp. Every driver is going to see a timestamp of when and what date was this documented on. Same thing for appeals. There's going to be an appeal log, and it's going to have the same thing. What was the rule cited? What evidence? What was the appeal reason? What was the outcome? Is it pending? Which, when we first get an appeal, it'll have to be pending, and then until we decide as a series manager, was it finalized, and was it approved or denied? And if so, how many points were given back to the driver? This is also part of a new structured system that I want to get into real quick, and I'll kind of get your thoughts, Brandon, as a driver yourself. The new structure changes that we're going to implement. Now, this is slightly changing because at the time of this recording, there was a little bit of higher issues going on within the admin team that we're having to sort out, but there is a new structure level that's going to be implemented. How it's going to be implemented will be discussed and figured out within the league itself. But this change is about structure, clarity, and accountability within the admins. Everyone knows who has authority, where to go with issues, who has authority, and who has responsible for decisions, who is responsible for the decisions. Professional communication is a standard across all platforms before, during, and after races. And competition brings emotion, but it never excuses abuse, disruptive, or chaotic communication. Every series has a series manager for a reason. And what this is going to do is we have this system set up. We've had it set up for this entire season. And even last season, we had a series manager per series. It's just we've gotten off track from that. So we're trying to get back onto track to make sure that that series manager is that series manager. Each series manager will operate with one clear leader instead of just, oh, well, all 5 admins or all 4 admins are racing in this series, so they all have say. No more of that. It's going to be a series manager for that series. They run the series. They handle all series decisions, and they're the only admin authority for that series. So, like Crimson with Cup Series. For Arca, it's going to be Yeti. And the other ones are going to deem whatever is necessary. Whoever is the leader is going to be the leader. Driver communication will be streamlined. If it's a series specific issue or question, then we're going to encourage the drivers to go to their series manager about that series. If it's a league-wide issue or league-wide question or whatever the case is, then obviously drivers can go to any admin or the league owner and take care of it there. What this does is it prevents confusion, it prevents mixed answers, and it prevents an admin shopping, pretty much. And during live races, authority is going to be intentionally very limited. The series manager manages the race communication, and only will the league owner, myself, step in as a last resort only if asked to do so by the series manager. All other admins will be having to follow standard race chat rules, just like the drivers. And then league-wide announcements will now be centralized. Only the CEO will be issuing official breaking league-wide announcements or breaking news. This is not to pertain to reminders about checking in for qualifying purposes or anything to the team owners' chats. Because obviously there's stuff that goes on, we gotta figure stuff out. But as far as league-wide statements or breaking news, the CEO is going to take care of that. Now, if the CEO cannot take care of it in a timely manner or anything, then obviously it will be directed to me. But there's not going to be any more like me make an announcement and then CEO make an announcement, and then now there's mixed answers and there's mixed confusion. One voice for breaking news and statements means no conflicting information, like I said. Penalties and appeals will have to stay within that series. And what this does is it allows the penalties are not determined within 15 to 20 minutes after the race. As we've seen, penalties get issued even 5 minutes after the race. They're like, oh, but you got this penalty. Bro, it hasn't even been 5 minutes. Well, like, what evidence do you have? Well, I saw it. Not cool. Not cool at all. I don't like that. And I know none of the drivers do. So the series manager will be required to resolve all penalties and appeals by Saturday end of day. That gives them the entire race week to take care of penalties and appeals. It's going to be pushed that they try to take care of the penalties themselves within a day or two, and then the appeals after by Saturday. But at any point that any penalties are resolved, any point penalties that are resolved after points have been posted, those will be applied into the next week's points. So, because usually points are done within that night or a couple nights after. So, if it's not done before then, it'll just bleed over into the next week, and you'll see it reflected on the next week. If the series manager can't get to it within a good time frame, then obviously the only other person that will be allowed to take care of it will be myself. That creates no confusion. That creates no other issues going on, no multiple different admins getting involved. And then the final authority, as far as the series, rests exclusively with the series manager. No outside opinion or outside admin opinions don't override decisions, and the responsibility and authority stay aligned with everybody. What this does in the end is it resolves and creates a new structure with less noise, a clearer leadership, faster resolution of issues, and a more professional league experience for both the drivers and the admins, because we do have a lot to take care of. We have a lot going on. With a high standard of a league that we have, it's a lot to take care of and a lot to deal with. So by starting this new process of penalties, that is obviously a big issue, and how the leadership is within the admin team, this standardizes that leadership and makes sure that everybody is taken care of in a proper manner. And that's really what we got so far. And if more may come from this, and it may change, I don't know. It is a testing ground and a beta only for right now. We're hoping to implement it for this week, upcoming week at CODA. And if it doesn't go well, it doesn't go well. And we have 2 weeks of a break for Christmas holidays and New Year's holidays. So if it doesn't go well, we have 2 weeks to kind of look at it, maybe tweak it if we need to make it better. Or if it's just not liked at all and it clearly is not going to work at all, then we'll revert back to what we have been working on until we come up with a better solution. So far, that's what we got.
Yeah, listening to everything that you said, it definitely seems like that is a very well structured idea. And it's, like you said, it's very easy to follow along and it's easy to understand what you must do, what you must not do. I believe that is definitely some great ideas in there. I did have a couple of questions.
Yeah,
Not doubt, but just more clarity, I guess, would be the best way to look into it. So, like you were saying, there will be no more like after race penalties, like directly after like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, like, oh, my feelings are hurt, I'm going to penalize somebody. Because in racing, that is such a big problem. And, whenever you're the one wrecked, it's never your fault. Never the driver who got wrecked's fault, at least not in their eyes. And they always blame the car that was behind them, when in reality, a lot of the times the car behind them was influenced by another car behind them. There's just so much more to a story than we see when driving. So before I get to my questions, I want to say I think that is a great idea. And the fact that there must be, video evidence and there must be some sort of backing to send in the claim to get the person penalized, I think is a very good idea. The one thing that I would state in there, because I believe this would also help you with league drama, is I would make it to where all penalties must be submitted, but if you take to the race chat after to start drama, you have no case.
Yeah, and that's a good point.
Keep it professional, man. Like, listen, let's say I got wrecked, my feelings is hurt, I want Alex to get a penalty. I don't just go to the chat and say, hey guys, look how bad Alex is. This is what he did. Look at this. It's terrible. Because guess what? At that point, you reckon me's no longer the problem of the league. I'm being the problem of the league because I'm being a bad influence and I'm making a negative atmosphere. I'm more of a problem than you reckon me at that point.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And that's why we had the multiple different cases as well. If, say, 3 or 4 different people send in the same thing, then what's cool about this new system is we will be able to see that as much as the drivers. You and everybody else can also see, oh, wow, there's been 4 people talking about Ducky. There's 4 different issues and 4 different penalties being submitted by Ducky. Okay, well, we can duplicate. We can submit it as a duplicate on the other 3 and focus on that one because we know that one is regards to all of those. And that way we know, okay, obviously there's an issue. Obviously, this one is probably going to get a penalty. So let's take a look at it. Let's see what we got. And it's just clear. Y'all can see this as much as we can. Nothing's going to be deleted out until the end of the season. So we can go back, 10 weeks from now, and we can go look at week 2 and see, oh, well, I've noticed this driver get penalized. He's been penalized about 4 or 5 times this season. Or this driver, well, he hasn't been penalized at all this season. So it definitely streamlines a lot of stuff. And yes, people may not like the fact that it's not, I won't say AI driven, but people nowadays don't like AI. And that's just the case of it. But there is AI that helps out with formulas that I had to get in order to indicate how this system is going to play out and how it's going to work to the professionalism state that it needs to. So I'm hoping that people at least give it a fair shot before going negative just because it is AI.
I will say this. I'm in a workplace, professionally in real life, that does use AI a lot. And the facts are, if you're someone that's against AI, then you are against modernization. because AI streamlines a lot of things, keeps everything more neat, and gives you a more consistent product than a human ever will. AI is generated to assist us. I definitely believe that AI could be used in that system. Again, I don't know your formula, but I do know that AI does a lot of good things. I know it can also do some bad things, but
It's not
when
perfect.
used properly, it can be very beneficial. Especially, we got to think about this. Like, I'm going to look at this right now as a driver looking into the admin team. There's not a lot of admins, but there
Mm-hmm.
could be a lot of claims. One person, there's nobody here that makes their living being an admin for UTLR. There's no one making 30 grand a year, 50 grand a year, sitting at the house all day. This is their only job. We all got lives.
I
So if
wish.
AI helps with that product, helps make everything more clear, streamlined, and easier for the drivers, then us, the drivers, has got to understand that's part of the product, because you guys can't do every single thing. That's impossible.
Mm-hmm. No, I fully agree. And like I said, this is why it's just beta testing, and we'll see how it goes from there. But you said you have a couple questions.
One question that I do have is, when it comes to the ticket submits, I guess a big thing for me is it going to be differentiated between a direct intentional wreck and then something that was accidental?
So, like I said, once you fill out the incident form, and what it's going to pertain is your name, driver involved, series, what track, about what lap number or a timestamp if you have one, an incident description, oops, wrong one, evidence type, and an evidence link if you have one, and then you're going to acknowledge the fact that, okay, by submitting this incident form, you're not saying that there's going to be a direct penalty that comes out of this. You're agreeing that it may not be a penalty, is what you agree to by filling out that form. And what's going to do is it's going to automatically come into my system, as far as it's going to have a timestamp of when you submitted it, and it's going to put me as a review status as new.
Mm-hmm.
And that way, we go in, we take a look at it, we log it, and then we can change it to reviewed logged, reviewed no action, or is it a duplicate, or is it invalid and insufficient evidence? And based on that, we can differentiate intentional or not, because we can look at it. We will still look at the clips, so y'all have to send those to us and everything else where we can find it. Um, we may ask you for it or whatever else, but we will look at it, and if it's deemed intentional, we literally put in the 4 questions, okay, yes or no, was it intentional? And if it is, say yes, then we differentiate in the intentional. But if it's not, clearly no. If we say it wasn't avoidable, you were trying to avoid it, but there's just no avoiding that one, we can look and see, okay, was there any kind of potential outcome for him to avoid that situation?
Mm-hmm.
If there was, then yes. But if there wasn't, let's just say no, there wasn't. The pile up, check up in the line, no way to avoid it. Couldn't see it coming. Um, but for odd reason, you went, say, below somebody at like Daytona Atlanta, like it has been, and you turn somebody up the track because you're trying to avoid, like it wasn't avoidable, but you're trying to, and you end up going up the track because you see an opening and you turn somebody. Clearly, that's not intentional. So we put no on there. But was the outcome affected? Let's say it was towards the front, towards the end of the race. The outcome was affected, unfortunately. And that driver's not on probation. Or let's just say he is. Then it's going to be a suggested range of an L2 to L7. At that point, we can differentiate where within that system is going to be the best. Yes, that is a very large range. Some of them may only give me like a 3 to 4 or 5 to 6, 6, 7.
It
Maybe
had to happen.
maybe so. Who knows? But it is going to differentiate that based on those 4 questions. And yes, we're not trying to say that it's going to come down to 4 questions is what your penalty is. That's not what we're trying to do here. There's still going to be that leeway where we can look at, because that's a large range. So then it becomes down to the admin's decision. Okay, where within this, because now we know it's an L2 to L7, where within that does it fall the best fit?
So there's still a human touch when it comes to the final decision, but it would ultimately
Correct.
come down to the series admin, correct?
Yes, it will come down. My us admins can discuss it, um, but the final say is up to the series manager because that is his series. He is the one making the calls.
Okay, fair enough. Now, I do have one other question because I'm curious personally because this is a situation that even I'm in right now. And when I ask this question, no, I'm not asking for change. Yes, I understand it's on a past system. I don't mean no drama with this, but I'm curious on how that would work. So I currently have a penalty in the ARCA series, even though it's a minor one. And it was because supposedly because I spun the front car, but you watch the clip and it was arguable. The car I spun was my own teammate, and in party he said, I didn't think you touched me. And I said, I didn't think I touched you. He said he would put in a appeal to get it dropped from me, and he's the driver that was wrecked. So how does that work?
That's a unique one that honestly has never come across. I've never seen it come across. Low key, I've never
That's
seen.
fair. That's a fair answer.
I've never
I'm just
seen
curious, like, can I
the
still get a
driver
penalty
who.
if
Yeah,
somebody else was like, "No, man, that looked bad," but then the driver that got wrecked and the driver that wrecked him were both like, "Dude, what do you want?"
yeah. No, I fully 100% understand. That has never come across in this entire league's history as far as a driver who was taken out go and appeal for the driver who the penalty was handed to. So, what would probably happen is the appeal would definitely get looked at because it's an appeal, so obviously it's going to not be ignored. Um, and we would just have to ask that driver. Obviously, that's going to help because both parties that were involved and the one who was the short end of the stick is the one going against going for the driver who got penalized. So, um, like in your case, the one who got turned is the one putting the appeal in for your case. So, I think in that point, yes, it would definitely. I think personally, I think it'd get approved because who's going to say no to the person who got turned and it just doesn't make any sense. If the person who got turned is the one submitting the appeal to help not only the teammate, but like, no, he didn't touch me at all. Well, as long as there's some kind of evidence to back it, I mean, obviously the fact of the matter for sure at face value, but as long as there's something to kind of help support it in a sense, I think definitely something that could would be overturned easily.
I mean, that's fair enough. And again, when I ask that, I know we're talking about a new system that was not in place when the penalty happened. That
Right.
I get that. So no
Correct.
drama there. I'm just curious on how that situation would change because right now it was put in by people directly after a race that just
Mm-hmm.
seen it happen, like, oh, they wrecked each other up front, but there was no video at the time. It was just what people seen. And I get it. You're up front, you see someone get clipped or somewhat, someone goes around. I'm not questioning people who was behind who've seen it. But again, that's another example of that may not have happened to me had the process had a chance to actually go through in the way that you're proposing it.
Exactly. And like I said, on future references with this new system, it'd be looked at the same way. I mean, we have the appeal form, and it's just the driver name, the incident ID, the rule infraction that was cited, what the appeal reason is. And that's where you can say what your appeal reason is and what the supporting evidence is. Um, and we can go back and look at it and be like, okay, well, yeah, there was nothing done. We'll give it back to them. And I like this system because it also, one thing I didn't touch on, but it also logs for us. And again, it's going to be transparent between the drivers and admins for everybody to see. Is a driver status log, and it will have every driver's name that's at least within the system at the time. And it's going to say an active probation, yes or no, or an active suspension, yes or no. So that way all drivers can see, all right, am I on a probation or am I on a suspension? Or is maybe another driver that, I don't like him. And is he still on that suspension? Yes or no? And then there's also a playoff lock where it's going to indicate, are they still playoff eligible? What that does is it's formulated to go off of that active suspension. So if it says yes to your name, then obviously you're eligible on the playoff lock column. It's going to say no, you're not playoff eligible. If it's a yes probation, no suspension, then it's going to be a yes, you're eligible for the playoffs. Clearly, because probation doesn't affect you. But yeah, those are two little things that are also within the system that is, again, everything that is within this new system is going to be transparent. Nothing hidden, nothing. The only thing that can't be done is drivers can't edit it, any of this. Obviously, only admins are going to be able to edit it, but other than that, everything that is seen for us admins is seen to the drivers.
Okay. Well, I think it sounds like something that is a good idea, good thing to try, and I think it's going to lead to some fruitful results, especially if everybody in the administration team can work together to stay on the same line and stay on the same wavelength. I definitely can see some good things coming there. Now, one thing I do need to ask for the people, and I'm just curious myself too, is SP still stepping down from the administration role?
So, as of this recording, he is done. Um, he had he's obviously in school. I can say at least that much. He's in school right now. He's got a lot of workload on that end of things, and he opened up and said that that's a major role, and the stress of the admin team right now is just not fitting for him to compete because there's stress within an admin team. Any admin team has some kind of stress. You can be the best of the best or the worst of the worst, and you're going to have some kind of stress. But yes, he is stepping down. There's a lot of changes ongoing. I will put it out there. I know this is very fresh, but as of this recording, LRS is no longer the CEO of the league either. That could change, but there's just backstories that I'm not going to get into right now. But as of right now, SP is gone and LRS is no longer with us as the admin team. So right now, as it stands, it is just me, Crimson, and Yeti as of this recording. So things can change. There's probably going to be a lot of changes as far as maybe a couple that get added to the admin team within the structure change. There's obviously going to be some personnel changes, and personnel leadership roles they're changing. That was not expected, but nonetheless, things are going to be better. I'm not saying, and I don't mean that towards Luke, because Luke has put in 4 years of this league. He is a dedicated CEO. I have enjoyed having him in every step of the way. I wish no ill will of him. I hope that he comes back in due time, but he's been my right-hand man, my saving grace. Could not run this league without him, so it's definitely going to be a challenge going into a racing week without him in that position, in that role. But we're going to roll with it. We have no choice, so we'll go with what we have, and we'll make the changes necessary to keep this league on track and test this whole new structure out. And if it means that people like it and it's just different, then it works. You can't get mad if something that some people may not like works. But if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work, and we revert back and we make other decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. And, one thing I do want to add, LRS, SP, I think they're great guys. And I think they were both very professional talkers, and I definitely see that being a big loss for UTLR. When I was asking about SP, there was kind of that hope that, I don't want to see people losing their roles necessarily. I want to see the league get better. And if the league gets better from the process, then awesome. But definitely hate to hear that they are both stepping down, or at least LRS not in the same role, whatever happens with that. But I'm definitely happy and that you were on here and shared that with us. I'm excited to see what the future of UTLR is and see where this goes. So, is there anything else that you would like to add? Anything else you'd like to share? Is there any way that drivers can give you some feedback on what they're thinking about the ideas? Because
Yeah,
obviously, this has been a lot to take in.
it is. There's a lot of ups and downs within this announcement, because a lot of it was LRS stepping down from admin within about 10 minutes before this recording took place. So that was a huge setback and a huge thing that's still on my heart to figure out and learn and discuss. But one thing that I can end it with on a positive note, and that's being with the drivers, like you said. I want the drivers. I know, like we talked about with the AI, how AI changes and how the world views it. Please, for everything holy, just give it a chance. At least just give it a chance. Like we know, in the real world, AI is taking over jobs, taking over this, taking over that. I'm not here to replace everybody. I'm not here to make anybody's jobs harder or take it away. I want this, like you were talking earlier, I want this to improve because we don't get paid to do this. We aren't here 24/7. Um, and this is going to help. It was going to take away a little bit, but it's also going to add other responsibilities that we have to take care of. So I'm trying to alleviate those on both sides and make everybody in the league happier and more enjoyable to be here every single week, and make things fair and equal across the entire league itself. Um, so at least, even if you don't like AI or you don't like anything involving it, just give this system a chance before you just automatically assume, okay, well, I heard it's AI, so I have a negative thought about it already, and I'm just going to go into it not liking it, and I'm not even going to give it a shot. Uh, just give it a chance, see what you think of it. Again, we are going into kind of a weird time frame with this, to adapt it and test it, because we're going to have 1 week, and then we're going to do a 2 week off break before we hit the ground running in 2026. So it may be one of those things where we get a little bit of driver feedback. We're not going to get the full details off of just 1 week. So it may return back in 2026, um, and test it for another week or two and fully see the ins and outs of how it operates. Maybe, don't know. But just give it a chance. Don't be so indecisive right off the bat just because you don't like how AI is.
Yeah. I think that the drivers need to be prepared to at least give it a chance for a month. At the end of the day, you won't know anything after a week. You'll barely know anything after 2 weeks. You'll start to have an idea after three, and after four, you should have a decent idea. So I definitely think it needs to be at least 4 weeks of actual racing action, not counting the 2 off weeks there.
Mm-hmm.
And the last thing that I'll say too, again, obviously I have no affiliation with the league other than just, hosting this show and you guys being gracious enough to come on. But the same people that's hating on AI is the same people that go into Walmart or your superstore and complain about self checkouts. They get you in and out of there a lot quicker. Do you want to stand in line for 30 minutes watching Grandma Sue with her 300 items when all you got's a thing of milk and a thing of naps? I don't think so. So it's okay to get stuff done quicker. It's okay to get something done smoother. Self checkouts ain't bad. Yeah, they take away a couple jobs. AI is not bad either, because here's the thing, guys. It's not taking a job. It's helping alleviate stress from people that's not getting paid at all. So I think we definitely need to be open to that, and I'm looking forward to it. Alex, I do want to thank you for being on here today, taking time to talk about all this. There's obviously a lot of changes. Hopefully everything goes smooth, and hopefully everything with the administration team can get ironed out and be better than ever. Is there any closing words that you have, anything that you want to say before we go off air?
Just appreciate you having me, and don't get stuck behind your local granny at your local Walmart. But
Exactly. I'm telling you,
uh,
that sucks.
it does. You made a good point on that one because don't be behind the one that has the 300 items and you only have two, and then you got that person at the checkout that's the employee that's 75 years old taking about 2 minutes to scan two items. So yes, AI is not perfect. This is not a perfect world, but AI can be helpful even whenever it can't. So definitely appreciate you having me though. Glad that I was able to pop in here on this Sunday afternoon, and can't wait to see what drivers think of this whole new idea.
Well, I'm excited too. I'm definitely glad that the administration sat down and, whatever the outcome, they listened. They listened to the drivers. They sat down. They did what they believe is best. People were asking for change. They've gotten change. So now when you get what you asked for, you need to look forward to it. You need to be excited about it. You need to be open about it, because at the end of the day, you got what you wanted. So, but anyway, I want to thank each and everybody for tuning in to this Lagging Legends Racing Network breaking UTLR announcement. We now have some ideas on how the future is going to be going. Let's go into it happy. Let's go into it smiling, because the changes are going to be for the good. But unfortunately, we're on our way to road courses, and that's going to suck, at least from Doc's perspective. But as for today, thank you for tuning in, and Nanners out. What's up, everybody? So, I am currently editing the video with UTLR Storm with the new rule changes to UTLR, and I just wanted to come on here and say a couple things. I'm going to put this at the end of the video, not the beginning, because there's no spoilers. Is everything he said what I would have done? No. No, it's not. Is everything that he said a result of what we asked for? Yeah, it is. So I do believe we need to try to at least go into it optimistically. Look at it and be open-minded, because if it don't work, what we were doing before wasn't working either. In a month, if it's terrible, we'll let them know. Everyone knows that. Here on the Speed Report, we just say it how it is. But I do want to say that I hate that SP and LRS are both apparently gone from the administration. Those are cool dudes. They were very knowledgeable and had a lot of long tenure there, I'll say. So I hate that that happened, but hopefully better things are ahead, brighter days are ahead. Let's just go into it optimistically, guys. It's easy to go into it negatively. At the end of the day, we asked for change, and this is change. It may not be the change that we were all hoping for, thinking of. But with that being said, we got what we asked for. We got change. So I'm at least going to go into it optimistically for now and see what happens, because who knows? It may be the best thing they've ever done.